Fantasy Island is a place where you can go and your deepest desire will be realized, often with unintended consequences in a way that could potentially cost you your life. Mr. Roarke is a really interesting character because we don't really know who he is when the movie begins. There's lots of questions that the guests have, that the audience will have. Is he a famous billionaire who bought this island and is now using technology to realize his people's fantasies? Is he pumping their drinks full of hallucinogens and doing some sort of weird psychedelic experiment with these guests? Or is he somehow this mystical figure who's maybe made a deal with the devil? And nobody really knows when they show up on the island. Over the course of the movie, we do reveal who Mr. Roarke is, and I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. The movie begins with 4 guests arriving on the island, and they each have unique fantasies. There's Melanie, played by Lucy Hale, who wants to get revenge on her high school bully. There is Patrick, played by Austin Stoll, who is hoping to have a sort of Call of Duty military adventure, but suddenly realizes he's involved in something far more realistic than he imagined, with life or death and very real emotional consequences for his character. There is JD, who's brought his adopted brother Brax to the island, and they want to have sort of a baller fantasy, have it all, and they quickly learn that when you have it all, usually other people want to take it from you. And finally, there is Gwen, played by Maggie Q, and she shows up on the island not really sure what she wants from her fantasy. She's got a lot of regret. She is hoping maybe for a do-over, and ultimately she realizes that the do-over is very real with very real consequences, and she begins to regret the moment she actually chose to do over. If I had a fantasy and I got to go to Fantasy Island, it would probably be to make this movie, because making this movie was a dream come true. This cast was fantastic. The crew was just top notch. We got to shoot in Fiji, which is just so beautiful. And I'm really proud of the final product and the work it represents. The island has 2 rules. The first rule is that each guest gets only 1 fantasy. The second rule is that you must see your fantasy through to its natural conclusion, no matter what. So for Fantasy Island, I really wanted a diverse international cast because I want as many people as possible to connect to this film. This film has got a really universal message, and that is that when you get your heart's desire, it doesn't always play out the way you'd expect. And ultimately, you learn that maybe you don't deserve what you want, you deserve what you need. And for that message to resonate with the largest group of people possible, I wanted a cast that reflects the population of people who go to the movies. And I think we were able to pull that off because we do have such a diverse and interesting group. People can expect to have a lot of fun at this film. It's scary, there's a lot of action, it's funny, it's really emotional, surprisingly emotional. I think people are just gonna have a really, really good time, and I think they're gonna be surprised by the ending. I think it's really gonna take their breath away. This is the perfect movie for everyone because everyone has fantasies. Right? Everyone has some sort of wish, some sort of desire they would like to see realized. And everyone's going to enjoy watching these characters get their fantasies, but then see the island twist it in some really clever and unique way so that our guests ultimately learn a lesson about themselves if they survive the trip.